Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
If my grandmama was channeling through me right now, she'd sound like, Lord have mercy, Jesus. Lord, Lord, Lord. Y'all gonna worry me to death. That's what I'd be saying to Maurice Dorsey, y'all. My guest. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He in the back end. Look at him put his hands up like, I ain't did nothing in the green room. You know, it was, see, here's the deal, y'all. Maurice Dorsey, our esteemed guest today. See, this is what happened, y'all. When he was here before, he had all his books and stuff, and great, yeah. But see, since then, and everything was smooth. He didn't have no demands about, nothing. Just came in, did his thing. Now he has this, I saw this press release come flying through last week. I was like, what's this? I looked at it and said, Maurice Dorsey, I know him. Right. So, okay. He was on my show. I know I can get him in here. Right. So I'm reading that Maurice Dorsey receives a national recognition and award through the Independent Press Award, which is very prestigious. Washington, D.C., where everything is competitive. Right. Well, everywhere, but you know how it is. A lot of talent there. A lot of brainiacs there. Right. So, it says recognized for Of Time and Spirit, which is one of his books, as a distinguished favorite. And I'll tell you more about this in a minute. So, okay, so we get here. I'm like, where is he at? It's sitting out front of the limo, drinking mimosas and stuff, waiting for the pedal bearers to come out and drop, like on Coming to Mary when they drop them pedals for them to walk on. Yeah. And then go say, do they got my You know, the muffins I like and that green tea I ordered in the green room. I was like, he said, what? Right. So I'm just playing. I made all that up. I made all that up. But I'm just saying, I just said that so you can have a reference point. Y'all saw him on some of you were here when he was here before. Tell me if you think all this prestige and all these awards that went to his head, right? I'm trying to learn because I plan on getting me some. And we're going to learn how you can get you some. Because Maurice Dorsey, I'm going to tell you, if there was ever what, you know, you look at somebody's accomplishment, you go, talk about your overachiever. Well, obviously he ain't overachieving yet. He's keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And why I brought him back was, you guys, you know, all you have to do is walk around and look for all the dust bunnies in all the rooms of the life you built, which is the house you live in. You will be shocked when you start looking at those dust bunnies as the value they are. All the experiences, the things that didn't look so pretty, didn't smell so good. Something just missing. You know what I mean? No, it wasn't. Let me tell you something. Everything will come together in one place for the betterment of everything and everybody. It will put the grout in between the tiles of everything you've lived so that your legacy can continue to live when you've gone on to whatever's next, when we've gone on, because time gonna get us all. Right. And speaking of time, you know, it's time to get Maurice Dorsey in here, but I just wanted to set it up for you guys because, you know, I don't just bring people on here or I didn't have nobody else to get. Let me get him back. It was nothing like that. I bring him back because somebody remembered something from either his last episode, one of our other episodes, but with what you will get today, make a sandwich out of that stuff, y'all. Put it together and get the peanut butter on the chocolate and get the chocolate on the peanut butter. You might come up with something they've never seen in this world. And suddenly, everything you've ever dreamed you could ever become is now meshed and melded with everything you've ever been. But most importantly, it speaks to everything you are right now. And right now, I'm bringing Maurice Dorsey in because you're always going to pour into us. This season, our premise is, our motto, show me your soul and I'll show you mine. That's not some little clever old little tagline. Every kiss begins with K. I'm just keeping it real. Don't get it twisted. What that means is you're ready to be vulnerable and you're going to respect someone else's vulnerability because inside of there is the key to every door that's ever been closed to every single one of us. That's why it's called transparency. So with no further ado, you guys, do it like we do it. Don't hold back. Quit playing. For real, bless in the way you want to be blessed. Let me just put that way. Put your hearts on the screen. Put your hearts into the screen. Send some light, love, and good wishes as we bring Maurice W. Dorsey to the stage. Here it comes, y'all. I'm going to be nice now because I already got you. See, I got you where you couldn't reach out, snatch my behind. So how are you, Dr. Dorsey?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me back. It's a wonderful spring day here in Washington, D.C. We had rain yesterday. But, you know, I wanted to tell you with your introduction, it just brought tears to my eyes. I had to get my handkerchief and wipe my eyes in between because when you were giving the introduction and you're talking about individuals where you have to put the grout in between the tiles of your life and all of the things that you have done in your life that didn't taste good, didn't smell good, you didn't like, or you were unhappy with, was exactly what happened to me in my life. And it seemed like the realization didn't come until I had worked in my career for over 27 years. And it seemed like I had gone to school and I had commuted and I had worked and I had jobs that I wasn't happy with. And then in this part of the country where I live, you deal with racism, and then I'm LGBT, I'm gay, a gay man, and trying to balance being straight enough in some environments, gay enough in other environments. And I was looking at the TV show the other day that said, are you, a movie, it was on cable, are you black enough? So, you know, you deal, I mean, as I've dealt with all of that. Am I black enough? You know, am I gay enough? Am I straight enough? And then you're pleasing your family, you're pleasing your work, you're trying to go to school, you're trying to build a career, you're trying to have material possessions, a house, a home, a car, and those kinds of things. And I was doing all of those pieces, just like you said in the introduction. I was doing everything, but it didn't seem like it came together. And then there was one human being who visited my place of employment and said, we've got to get Maurice out of here, and he was instrumental. And I didn't know he was instrumental in transplanting me to another place of employment, which happened to be the United States Department of Agriculture, the last place on earth I ever thought I would end up. And it seemed like all of the fragments of my life, all of the pieces, like you just said, just came all together. And although USDA had the worst track record in government when I was there of all of the federal agencies for LGBT, they were number one in helping the LGBT community move forward and upward. And so, anyway, I know I'm being a little long-winded, but you just touched my heart when you're talking about the struggles that individuals go through in order to get to a place, to get to where they are now. And it's sometimes, you feel like you want to give up. If it seems futile, you feel like you have one cocktail too many. And I mean, one could be equivalent to a bottle. But, you could slip off. I mean, when, your Constitution requires you to, sort of step up. So anyway, thank you for the introduction. And it really touched me here because those putting the grout in between the tiles happened to me. And it just in the process did not seem possible. It just didn't seem like that it was going to work for me. And yet I was doing everything that society tells you to do: go to school, and education, behave yourself, stay out of prison, get a home, get a car, be stable, all of those things I was doing, but it was something in my heart that still wasn't right, and it all came together. And I'm as happy as I can be. And next month I will be 74 years young and older than you.
See, y'all, let me just say to everybody, see, y'all, if you just meet Maurice, let me tell you what that was.
A shameless plug.
That was a shameless plug, y'all.
Well,
See,
look,
I already know. See, let's see what happens is we're in here where, I used to watch people like Dr. Dorsey, like, okay, so that's the kind of gay man I want to be, and this sort and the other. So see, I already know he can come up in here and put some stuff out there. No, but I am so happy you're here, and I'm grateful that that's the promise where two or more come together. And I think that's going to be our road to Damascus, if you will, this morning, talking about that in your life. Now, but let's get this out of the way, because I wanted to celebrate you and this brand new award. Tell everybody about it, what it means, and how did they find out about you and your books?
Well, the Independent Press Award sent a release out in email, and writers and authors were from all around the world, which is what makes it so impressive to me. I mean, there were people from Ireland and Switzerland and Japan and India, United States, all over the world, East Coast, West Coast, competing for this. And so I submitted my 3 books. I mean, I've been writing for about 5 or 6 years, and I'm happy with my work, but it wasn't something that I was trained and educated. I mean, I wasn't an English major, journalism major, that type of thing. To be a writer is just that I had stories that I wanted to tell. And I think in this information age that we have, and the need for more African-American writers and LGBT writers to put their stories out, it was just important to me to write it, and I then had the time. And so I submitted the books, and it took several months before, and I actually just buried it. I didn't stand around waiting.
Did it win? Anybody hear anything yet?
No,
when y'all gonna let us know? Right.
I didn't do any. Because you get to a point where you don't want to be worried about stuff all of the time. So I didn't want to be worried and anxious and biting my nails. It was just sort of almost like let go, let God mentality. If it's going to happen, it will. And if not, I mean, I'm not going to be hungry or anything like that. And so when the first email came, it was for Of Time and Spirit. It was a press release. And it said that I had won and it was the distinguished favorite. So I was a little suspicious at first. You know,
Okay.
I mean, I just felt like, so I actually wrote to the director. His name was Ted. And I said, I said, I know that this is not a winning book.
Wait,
I mean,
Ted? Did you say
they
Ted?
had,
Ted.
yeah, his
White
name,
guy?
yeah.
Got gray hair?
Well, I haven't seen his
I'm
face.
just playing.
I mean, really, I don't know who. I don't know. I've never seen his face.
I
And that's
told you I was
the
gonna get you. I
thing
told you
about
now. We
writing
even.
these books, because I mean, I've published 3 books and I've never seen one human being in the whole process. It's all been electronic. Send this, send that, and
So
so.
wait, what Ted say?
So Ted said. So I asked him. I said, "Now, am I the only book, in this category? In other words, I won because you didn't have
By
one book in the
default?
category." So he said, no. He said you've competed with thousands of people from around the world, and he said, though you're not number one, he says you are a distinguished favorite, is like runner up, or like number two. And he
Like Miss
said there are
Congeniality?
yeah. And so you're crazy. So anyway, I know this is your show, but this is my time.
I know. Look, I know. It's too bad you don't have control of. How'd you kick me off the screen?
Uh-oh, lost you.
No, I'm
All
giving you
right.
the floor. There you go. It's yours. Go.
Well, I'm a ham anyway. So anyway, he put me back and he said, Maurice, you really need to be very proud of this. He said, because he says everybody didn't get the awards. And he says, no, you're not the only person. And so it was really touching. And so then a couple of days later, the other 2 came in. So it's this week, the last week of April, that the press is going to start sending out these independent press releases to the public. So I was just so excited. I mean, I was just thrilled. I mean, because the competition wasn't like a narrow one. I mean, when you're talking about people from around the entire world, and to be included in the circle and to get the recognition and to get the press, because I'm an independent author. I mean, I'm self-published, and sometimes when you're not in the large
Publishing
publishing
houses and
houses,
whatnot.
you don't get the kind of recognition. And I've been excluded many times because they say, well, we don't accept self-published
Independent.
books.
Mhm,
I mean, in the
mhm.
old days, they called them that.
Like a stepchild or something.
Yeah, exactly. You got
You
it.
know,
And see, and that adds to your
anybody
insecurity,
got time for
because
that?
I've been a stepchild my entire whole life. I mean, being, you're always a stepchild. I mean, you're always sort of second class, and you're still always navigating yourself through the
Mm.
United States system and the world system.
In the
And
world.
right. And I remember
You
Morgan
just bring out
Freeman.
all my gayness today. See, that's the thing. That's the thing when we get together, we get all loose. Let get that. How did I get on the screen? Wait,
Yeah,
see, you type it in your own stuff. I'm just kidding. That was me, y'all.
yeah. No, I can roll with you. I can roll with you.
I'm gonna see you this weekend. I hope we'll get
I
back to
hope
that.
so. Yeah, I have a Zoom,
Friday.
a 1:15 to 2:15. After that, I'm happy to take you to lunch, or you and your 2. I love your administrative assistants. It just sounds so grand.
Oh shoot, you wasn't supposed to say that. They probably watching. They don't know that's the title yet. They look, they didn't get the memo yet. What that man say? We were your
Yeah, well,
what you do in the dark will come out in the light. I'm kidding.
yeah,
Go ahead.
that's right. Well, I'm looking
Thank
forward
you,
to
honey.
meeting you on Friday. But anyway, the press releases are nice, and there are 3 of them. I think I just sent one out, but all 3 books were
did.
recognized, and and I couldn't be more happy. And hopefully, it will generate itself into some sales for some books.
Well, I'm hoping that too. And here's why I have you here. I would love it for you to talk about because there's a lot of us, all of us have stories, but a lot of us consider writing. Some have tried it, some are in the middle of it, some are still yet to do it. But the thing about it is, I think many of us think about it. So can you explain in this part of the process for you, just speaking for you, when you sit down and you come up with the title and the premise of the book, the bones to the story, tell us what it's like when you're considering, because that's what I do. I consider what look is on the face of the reader, of the listener, of the participant. Because I judge what they're getting by I'm like this. This will keep me motivated. When I picture them looking like this, I'm like, oh, no, you didn't. And then I really start really digging in. So what is it? What were you hoping, man, for us, the people who can pick this up and use it to pour into ourselves and then pour into others? What were your hopes for the reader as far as benefit and value?
Okay, I'm gonna give you two parts to my answer. One is all three of my books are the struggle of three African American men who have achieved and accomplished and done great things through adversity, through the adversity of their life circumstances, their families, their loved ones, the workplace, the community. So the body of work of all three books is achieving through adversity, letting the reader know whatever your struggles are, if you keep at it, like you said earlier, doing the right thing, eventually you can put the grout in between the tiles and you can have a beautiful, beautiful wall. In my first Businessman First, it was, as we discussed before, it was about an African American man who was born in the South in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia. And his father moved him to Dayton, Ohio, because racism at that time, he was born in 1960, was so intense that his father, who was just a hotel bartender and domestic within the hotel, moved to Dayton, Ohio. And Henry was a product of that marriage. And then he went to Ohio State. He was a roommate of Jesse Owens, and but even at Ohio State, which is now called the Ohio State University, Blacks couldn't live on the campus. He and Jesse Owens were roommates off campus, and they worked in the cafeteria and elevator operators and doing miscellaneous jobs to pay their tuition, which was a struggle. In addition, his father, Henry Park Sr., did not want him to go to college because at that time, the economy was so bad for African American people who were colored, and then Negro, and then Black, and then Afro American, then
Right.
And so he didn't want Henry to go to college because he needed another hand to help bring money into the household, because there were two other children and a wife and his mother living in the household that he had to take care of. So Henry, being away studying, he thought, away money out of the household. But Henry pursued and persevered without his father's love and support. In fact, his father was really, quite ugly about him going, and didn't show any support because he was angry, because he wanted his son to stay home and help the family.
Right.
Henry had a mission of his own, so he left when he graduated Ohio State University with many honors and accolades, and he had belonged to the Urban League and the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity and many organizations that exposed him to other successful men of color. He moved to New York, and he met Joe Louis, and they did the Joe Louis punch, and then he met Little Willie Adams, and Little Willie Adams told him to come to Baltimore and sell real estate. So he sold real estate, and eventually he started his own company. But the root of where he started in the race was a really very low, it was a low place socioeconomically to be born at that particular time in the Deep South, in order to become one of the first African-American multimillionaires in the country. And he sold his products, which were the Park sausages, from as far north as Connecticut and as far south as Northern Virginia. And his original intent when he started this business was to build a business of heavy foods for African American people who were doing the laborious work in the American economy in the South. But when he built his refrigeration plant there in North Carolina, the Ku Klux Klan burned it down and they spray painted over the building, "We don't want your end sausage here." So Henry, rather than being—
Wait a minute. Hen sausage. What's that mean? What you mean in sausage?
His N-I-G-G.
Oh, the N word.
Right.
Right. I just put it out there. See.
All right.
Right. And we ain't trying to soft sell. That's what they said. We don't want your nigga sausage. Well, listen, let me just say something about that. I know everybody's all tiptoe about saying that word and stuff, but in a teaching moment, if anybody still tosses it around joking or is this and other, I like to let them hear it the way it was instilled in them.
Right. Well,
so I'll throw it out there one time, but I ain't gonna keep making you hear it. But that's what they called it. We don't want your nigga sausage.
Exactly. You got it. So as a reader, you could pull that out. And of course, in the book, I wrote it. But I mean, that could have been a very destructive moment to his spirit, because everything that he had borrowed on his house. He had sold his life insurance policy in order to start this business. And for somebody to come and just burn the damn refrigeration plant down to the ground and say, "Get out of here, we don't want you down here," when he was really trying to serve his people, you know, because we ended up eating the grits and sausage and eggs and bacon before we went to work, because we were going to be out there until 12 noon in the hot sun before another meal was going to come. But anyway, he just turned it around and started selling it north. I mean, his plant was in Baltimore, and
so he really did leave after that.
Well, yeah, he didn't. It wasn't any. It was an uphill battle trying to.
So all of that investment, financial and everything, just seemingly gone down the drain, but not really.
So then he just moved to Delaware, Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts. He just went north. And subsequently, over time and a great deal of strategic planning and marketing success, he was able to build a business. And then Domino Pizza and Pizza Hut started buying his sausage to go on their pizzas. So he was able to build a multi-million-dollar corporation as an African. And
wait a minute. And you know what probably happened? The descendants, if they weren't alive still themselves by the time Domino's and Pizza Hut and all them started using this, I bet those very ones who spray painted "We don't want your end sausage" was eating. Is that we had pizza? They're like, man, it was like that. The shit pie on The Help. This the best pie. This is the best pizza. Ain't this sausage good? Where y'all get this sausage so good? Right, as life would have it.
You got it. But and it's interesting too, as a part of that, Lauren, you are so funny. The part of that is when he marketed his product to the general population, he ended up having to hire women and a few white women in order to go to the front, because they never knew that they were eating nigger sausage.
Right. You had to put a face on it.
They would never have purchased it. They would never have purchased it in the first place. So he didn't market his face. And let me show you see, this was a handsome man.
Oh, I know.
He was a handsome man.
And man.
And look, and note that the QBT award is on there, the Black Quarterly Award from the Harlem Book Festival. This book was a runner-up for that as well. So I mean, so he had a struggle, but he worked through it, and he worked through it, and he worked it, and he worked it. Well,
wait a minute, real quick. But don't you think it's interesting that he had to put white women up front to sell sausage, a breakfast item, whereas the white people with Aunt Jemima put a black woman up front to sell the pancakes? You'd have think they'd have wanted to be responsible for the pancakes and leave the old dirty meat to, what I mean?
It's
that's
called
the way I'm wired.
Yeah, marketing. But I mean, and of course he was considered a minority-owned business, and 95% of his employees were people of color. But at that time, in order to get the product out there, he had to put a sales rep who could negotiate with
Who should,
someone who
right,
was going to buy the
give them
product.
what they need to see. But
Absolutely.
so
Yep.
let me ask you, because I'm just dying to know this. What was it that made you say, I need to tell this man's story? Because I'm thinking about, well, I wonder who's watching Maurice right now, or has watched him, or will yet watch him, and say, you know what? I need to write his story. Because we are blessed in the manner in which we bless others.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you. Well, I didn't have any real cathartic moment when in writing Henry's book. He was 30 years older than me. We became good friends for many, many, many years. We were very close friends. And when I'm trying to abbreviate the story because I know this is just an hour show, but we were friends, and I'm a big talker, but we were friends for many, many, many years, and he was a great mentor and a friend, but moreover, someone that I looked up to. So when he got older, and he was dying from Parkinson's disease, he looked at me from his hospital bed and he said, now mind you, he's 30 years older, so just imagine, just even numbers, he's 60 and I'm 30. And he says, I'm dying, and he says, I love my business so much, but I need 15 more years. He was in the hospital and he was dying. He said, I need 15 more years in order to make this business, because his next move after the East Coast, since the South didn't want him, he was going to go to Chicago and Detroit and Chicago with this product and move west. He wanted to have a national brand. And
Wow.
and so I said, in my naiveness and in my compassion and in my sympathy,
Now,
and
you know the gay form of that is naivete. Quit playing.
yeah, well, no, I didn't. I mean, so I said
See,
to
your
him,
collar fell down. That's why I did. If that collar was still up, you'd have went. That in all of my naivete. Y'all, this is Washington. What?
no. I mean,
You know how they are.
well, listen to what I was going to say. I told him, well, yeah, that's right. So
I
I
know.
said, so I said, well, Henry, don't worry. I will write your book. I
You
will
said it way back then.
that's what I'm talking about. I didn't know anything about writing any book. I mean, I hadn't studied writing any book. I really was kind of stupid and naive, not totally, but in the category of promising somebody I'm gonna write a book. But I didn't know what to say to this man. I mean, he was my friend, and he wasn't feeling good. He had these dreams and goals and ambitions, and I mean, I hadn't had any experience
Did
with
you mean
building.
it, or were you just saying it?
Well,
I mean, did you mean it saying, like, did you really see the book then? Or were you kind of playing with it and it was telling you were gonna do it?
no. I told him I was going to do it. And at that time, I had a PhD, but he didn't recognize a PhD as doctor or anything. I mean, he didn't see that as relevant. He felt like you shouldn't even have a PhD degree if you weren't a medical doc. If you weren't a doctor, you shouldn't be called a doctor. I mean,
Doctor. Oh, okay.
that
He
was
old
his
school.
his mentality. I was coming from the framework of, I had written a doctoral dissertation and two theses for two master's degrees, one from Hopkins, one from Loyola. And yes, got to
I
throw
know. I want
that.
people to know that
Oh,
ain't no
just
easy
a,
task.
just a little bit of something. So I didn't see the book, but I knew I could write something, and so he agreed almost instantaneously. And when he came out of the hospital on this particular occasion, he gave me all of his files. He had his daughter to give me all of his papers, his birth. I have all of his birth certificates, his awards, his plaques, his resume. I mean, I have the voluminous amounts of material, some of which I've donated to museums, because I can't warehouse all of it, and some of it needs to be in a museum. I don't need to keep all of it. And so but I continued to work, Lauren. I continued to go to work, uh, get my little tiles before the grout got in,
Mhm.
and worked and commuted and bought a house, And it wasn't until I retired that I had the promise that I had made to him in the hospital 20 years earlier. I said, I've got to do this because I'm going to die. And I promised this man that I was going to do it. So when I retired from the United States government, the first thing I did was to buy a new laptop computer. And I sat down and with all his materials in my house, and I just spread them all out all over the place and started
Okay.
organizing.
There it is. There it is. Everybody lock that visual in. Maurice is sitting at I picture a big dining room table with stuff everywhere.
Right.
And I have a feeling it was nighttime when you started. I don't know. I'm just saying that's in my mind.
But I had no organized pattern, but I was committed.
Wait, hold on. Remember when you said it was my show?
Yeah.
Well, let me just remind you. Hold on, because I got to get paid. So hold on. So we're going. I'm only going, but trust me, I ain't trying to get Burger King for lunch on Friday. So I'm only going to do one commercial instead of my usual two. Does that work? So listen, you guys, I'm just kidding. We'll be right back. Lock that picture in. Getting started. Everything's there, and now the door is in front of you. What happens next? We're going to find out when we return with author and distinguished everything, Maurice W. Dorsey. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Lauren Michaels Harris. I'm going to get our guest, Maurice W. Dorsey, back in just a moment. But first, I want to say thank you to my brand new sponsor, Warrior Goddess Life at warriorgoddesslife.com, where Natan Bradbury is taking women all the way through a program, an 8-week program to change your life. And so get over and check it out at warriorgoddess.com or hit me up and I'll put you in touch. And now back to, and by the way, for all of you, I want to put a little pitch out there. Now comes my shameless plug for Electric Revival, a new digital content creation company. I've been doing this work for several years, but now I have a team with me, and we have started this new branch of our business. So another LMH branch is out there, digital content for all of your needs. Let us take your dream to the screen. Every commercial, everything you see here on Bathrobe Moments is created through that pipeline. So if you like what you see, if you are a business owner, a workshop provider, an author with books that need to be out there digitally, let me know. Okay, had nothing to do with you, just happened to be what I was talking about today. So anyway, so now here we are. You are ready to get started. What ran through your mind? Did you feel that? Can you talk about first the sense of responsibility? Was it like, okay, do I have everything? Because it seems like it's like a recipe. You got to make sure you got the eggs and the bread. I mean, in the bread. See, that's why I don't make cakes. If you're gonna, whatever you need, you want to make sure it's on the counter. You want to look at it. So you have to run out to the store in the middle. When you were ready, and this is it. I'm pushing, the trigger, pulling the trigger, 5 pounds of pressure. Did you feel anything? What did the responsibility factor feel like to get this right?
Well, the first thing I felt was fear, because you want to get it correct. You want to get it accurate. You want to put something out there that's credible. You want something out there that's believable. And so as you're writing, you want to make sure, because when you write, you can be questioned. And people can be very negative or ask you or say that this isn't true or that's not true or where did you get that fact from? So I wanted to make sure everything, since this was biographical and was a true story, that I was writing from either my experience having known him for 20 years, Mr. Parks, for 20 years, and the collection and the volume of information that he had provided for me, which a lot of it was legal and formal and professional. So one of the things that I did feel comfortable about was making a table of content. And I did buy a book on how to write a biography, which, was okay. And I actually took a class at the Writers Center here in Bethesda, Maryland, sort of to give me some grounding and some confidence. It was just like a 5-day workshop, something like that, to how to write a biography. But the most important thing, because I was referring to other people's lives, were the importance of getting it accurate and correct. So I'm sitting at this dining room table image that you've asked your listening audience with all of these papers and plaques, and I had to organize all this stuff and to make sense out of confusion, because it was materials from his birth certificate all the way up to his funeral when he died, that I had to sort of organize into files chronologically by year, so that things were going on. And I also included the history of the civil rights movement to give the reader some connection of what was going on in time. For example, Martin Luther King's assassination, Kennedy's assassination, John F. and Bobby
What was
Kennedy.
happening parallel in the world.
So I would blend in historical significance. At the time, he was going on his journey of building this corporation. And I literally stayed in pajamas for the most part of 6 months with,
he was practicing for COVID.
Yeah.
I ain't took this off. I'm still in the same stuff.
Yeah. So, I was typing, sometimes at 12 noon, I'd be sound asleep. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd be making some meatballs and spaghetti to eat, because I was determined to get it done. Because at retirement age, you become more sensitive of your own longevity. And
Got that right.
So I said, well, I don't know how long I'm going to be living. And I made this promise, and I want the promise to be kept.
Be impeccable with your word.
Yeah. I want before I drop dead, And so, I know that sounds a little dramatic.
I was like, you kill me. Wait, okay. So I see you've chosen how you gonna exit. The other day I was like, just fall out. Don't let me linger, y'all, before I drop dead. Right? Okay, I love that one. I feel you. Listen, but what about this now? Because this is a good question. You're gonna say that's a good question. I hope. Now I pictured when you said from birth certificate to the funeral, all the plaques and stacks of files in this. Now those things record all of our accomplishments, arrivals and departures, things like that. The schedule, if you will. But what about those things in between that people didn't celebrate? Like the get out of here with how did you put your hands outside of your experience with him? The vulnerability, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. How important was that he was able to tell you about those times? Well, I didn't make such a great decision here. I let ego get in the way here, or I shouldn't have done that, or all the things that are a part of us growing into legacy. Because a lot of people think there's some magic wand that goes over the head of somebody like our subject here. And it's not. He was human just like us, and he did not make every choice exactly right, but he also didn't make mistakes. It sounds like he just had missteps.
Mm-hmm. Well, he had lots of obstacles, like you said, all of us
obstacles.
did.
Right.
And there were things that got in his way, and there were things that bugged him. There were things, he could cuss like a sailor. He could.
Could he?
Oh, he could. He was a tall, big, 6 foot 3 or 4 man, very athletic built. He played football in high school and college. I mean, he was a big man and he was handsome. And
Yeah.
but he could
Yeah.
cuss you out up and down one side in a New York minute. But then
Wait a minute. Was he as good as that little black girl on Flatliners? Remember that movie? The one who would come in after Kiefer Sutherland. She told him from one side to the other, from the root to the. So did he ever go off on you?
No, well, no, he wouldn't go off on me with the profanity, but if I said something that he didn't agree with, he would just look at me and say, "You are a horse's ass."
Oh, see, I love people
mean,
that can throw some
so
slang cuss
but
at
see,
you.
for me, that was like zip, zip, zip. I mean, but then on the reverse side, because I wasn't making any money, Henry Parks at this point in his life was wearing tailor-made Brooks Brothers suits.
Excuse me.
And so he invited me to go to this private club in Baltimore called the Center Club. I mean, which is a private club, and at that time, I think the membership was something like $5,000 or $6,000 a year. I had never been to any of the things that he was exposing me to. And so I took my little MasterCard and went to Joseph Banks and bought a little navy blue blazer and the rep stripe, so I could look compatible.
Clubbing.
So that he wouldn't be ashamed, to go out with me. And I mean, it was a struggle because I didn't have the money. I was probably using 2 or 3 credit cards to pay for this outfit to go to this private club.
That's right.
But he was just trying to expose me and mentor me to nice things. And I guess if I went in unappropriately dressed, but he told me, he said, get dressed. I mean, he didn't say.
Well, clearly it worked.
So when I got dressed and arrived at his home, and I used to drive him. He had this great big long Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham. And
was he sitting up front with you, or was he sitting in the back and you was up front?
No, he would sit up. No, he would sit up in the front, and I had a little yellow Volkswagen. I mean, if you want to get, my economic status was a yellow Volkswagen. His was a Cadillac Fleetwood 4-door sedan Brougham.
Yes.
But I would drive
Mr. Big, Mr. Big.
But when I got to his house, he would say, on the reverse side of a horse's ass, he would say in a very low voice, "That's the most fashionable outfit I've ever seen you wear." I mean, so in other words, he noticed the effort that I put into getting ready to go out with him.
To do the
and
right.
he was also saying, I'm pleased with it. And with him, that really meant he was really pleased because he didn't throw out compliments.
Right.
Lavish.
He's throwing out. You got to grab it quick because it may be a while for you to see the next one.
Yeah. And
I like that.
I remember one time I just used the word nigger. And he said, not to him, not toward him. I was just saying it in conversation. Maybe something was on the news. And he looked at me and he just said, "Maurice, it's not the race or the color, it's the class." In other words, stop saying that word. Don't say it. It's because in every class, in every race, in every culture, you have socioeconomic people who have, and there are people who don't have, and they are not all Black people. So he could cut to the chase. But see, he was mentoring me, he was helping me, he was teaching me. And I didn't kind of know it. I mean, I never had any mentors. I grew up on a military base. I mean, we grew up, we weren't impoverished or on welfare or anything, but we weren't wealthy people. I mean, most African Americans in the country at that point in time were not. I mean, we were struggling to get to middle class and just to be accepted, in the dominant society, in the workplace, and health and education and that type of thing. So, I mean, I didn't come from any high, and neither did he, but he aspired to that. He adjusted to that. He was received well. And then as time went on with the civil rights movement and changes in policy and laws and regulations. So
let me ask you, I want to know, because it's hanging out here and it was really important. I love the way it was captivating to me. I'm sure some of you out there watching will agree. When you said that he said from his deathbed, or his hospital bed rather, I don't know if it was his deathbed, when he said, I wish I need 15 more years. That vision that required that frame, how precise and I guarantee you 15 was the number. It was, there's something about people that execute at that level. They see it clearly. So what happened with that piece? Did it happen in his lifetime? Did anyone pick up the mantle? And so what do you think that piece of the story, is it seedling enough to be germinating somewhere else right now, or did it die with him?
You know, it's that part of the story is very tear-jerking because I wrote in my book that when Henry sold his company, he sold the company before he died. And this was an interesting thing. He asked me, someone 30 years his junior, whether he should sell the company. I mean, I knew nothing about operating a major business. Well, it was a small business relative to American business community, but he sold the business to his general manager, Mr. Haysbert, who was a very nice man, and he introduced me to him. But he told me, he said, Haysbert is going to sink the business. And what Henry meant by that was he didn't feel that anyone knew the intricacies and the groundwork that he had laid over 30 years to build this company. So anyway, he sold it, Haysbert bought it, and it lasted a few years, and then it went into the hand. He sold it to the Noren Company, and then Haysbert's and his some of the employees from the Park Sausage Company bought it. But in any event, it's not in existence anymore.
Was Henry able to know that? See, was he alive when the book came completely to fruition?
No, but he knew I was working on it. He did interviews. He had introduced me to his ex-wife, his two daughters, his three grandchildren.
So what went through your mind, Maurice, when you get the first hard copy and it's in your hand? Henry has gone on to what is next, and you see a person's life right here in your hands that came literally through your hands. Can you we have about 6 minutes, 5 minutes. We have 5 minutes. Can you tell us what that did for your journey as far as checking something off, and how do you feel Henry would feel had he been able to hold that same book?
Well, I flung myself across my bed and I cried because getting that book done, I literally had to hire a New York attorney to help me get the photographs in the book. I mean, I was a neophyte in the publishing industry. I didn't know everything that I needed to do. And it was really an uphill battle for me, and an expensive uphill battle to get the book published. So when I saw it in hardback, I just threw myself across my bed and cried. But I concluded the book by saying that Henry would be proud, Henry would be happy. And I feel that spiritually, even though we don't know where that comes from, I feel like he has approved it. I mean, I think I think he has said, nice job. I'm sure he has said
I
that
agree.
Spiritually to me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's a nice looking book. It's an award-winning book. It's a true story. I didn't invite other people into it because it was a story of Henry and I didn't want to, at this stage, just leave it at that. But there's more to be told, and if I have more life, I will do a part 2 or another version of the book. But to have it done was just, to me, such an accomplishment, such an achievement. And I just cried. You know, to see it done.
What about the family, Henry's family? What was their response to the book?
While he has two daughters, one is currently in a nursing home. She also has Parkinson's disease. So Henry, his daughter, and his mother all had Parkinson's disease.
Okay.
The other resides in Baltimore. She's the one that had 3 children. And even though I know them and have socialized with them, the granddaughter Roz is the only one who's taken a real active interest in her grandfather's life. And I think part of it with his daughters, even though he provided everything for them, had childhood resentments, because you can't build a multi-million-dollar company and be at home every day at 5 o'clock to have dinner.
Right.
So there was friction between he and his wife, you know, because he wasn't home, he wasn't available, he was going to meetings, going to boards, going to New York, going here, you know, so he wasn't able to be a full-time parent. And I think children sometimes
sacrifice.
Yeah, and sometimes children don't understand it when their father is not there. But he said he loved his children, but he didn't understand it. But he bought them homes, he bought them cars, he sent the grandchildren to private schools. You know, he worked with the Urban League, he worked with Whitney Young and Vernon Jordan and NAACP and Alphas. I mean, he was engaged. And so he needed a wife that was a complement who could help the children understand
the family,
of what he was doing.
Right.
But I think they have some reservation about it, and maybe a little bitterness. But I mean, I know who they all are, and I can reach them. But the granddaughter is the one who's taken the most significant interest in it. And
awesome. Well, and she's closer to the legacy moving forward. You know, it skipped over the naysayers and went right to someone who will pick the torch up, because our legacy is like that candlelight service on Christmas Eve at your favorite church, where we light our candle off of the candle from someone beside us. And that's what it feels like the granddaughter is doing from Henry's story. And I think that's great. Thank you so much. I want you to, before we get out of here, one thing I want to real quick, if someone was to write your story and you were able to at least choose the title before, and maybe not like, and just like Henry, maybe not be here to see the end of the completion of the book, but you were able to choose the title of your own story, what would that title be?
He did the best he could do.
He did the best he could do. Good enough. And that's what we're asked to do. That is what the fourth and final agreement of the 4 agreements says. Always do your best. Great, great, great stuff. Thank you so much, Dr. Maurice W. Dorsey. If you would like to get in touch with Dr. Dorsey, it is mdorsey10, the number, at verizon.net. And I'll throw that in the comments so that you'll be able to just, with a touch of a button, get over and check out everything Maurice Dorsey. Thank you so much. One of the 3 books is Of Time and Spirit, a tribute to my father. There is also, fill in the other blanks, there's 2 more books, the names?
Yes, From Whence We Come.
From Whence We Come.
And the book about Henry Parks is Businessman First.
There it is. And get over. I'm going to drop, like I said, Dr. Dorsey's connector into the chat. Get over and check him out. You won't be sorry. Dr. Dorsey, thank you. I will hopefully see you Friday. And it's always a pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing. And for those of you out there, thank you. Tomorrow, my guest is Teresa Young. She'll be here, and that's Young, Y-E-U-N-G, and not Y-O-U-N-G. And she's going to be here sharing some great stuff with you. It's just been a blessing. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. Everybody, get out there. Remember, you want to get blessed in the manner that you are the blessing to someone else. So keep that in mind. Don't hold back. When you feel like giving 100%, check all your pockets. You might be surprised. You can give away a lot more and not even miss it. I love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm Lauren Michaels Harris. Have a great one. Bye-bye, y'all.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you again, Maurice. Bye-bye.
See you.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spend